Did you know you could get suit cuts for designing unaccessible products? Find out in this video what accessibility really is. 3 main points to design better accessible products. These main points are going to help you better design products that are more accessible and then avoid lawsuits. Did I say avoid? Avoid lawsuits. So, starting out in this video, we're going to talk about what accessibility really is and like what really is accessible design, right? So, and before we get into that point, as a designer, as a body designer, as a professional designer, you must first understand what accessibility is not, because there's so many, and like the most uncommon norm of what accessibility is actually wrong. So we're going to talk about what accessibility is not in this slide, right? And these are things you should know, right? Accessibility is not trying to design with the medical model of trying to fix or teach the user, to fit into the normal societal ways of using a product. Now, I'm going to explain this, right? It is not making big separate project for disabled people. Now, this one happens all the time. Accessibility, right? Or accessibility when it comes to design is not designing separate pages for blind people. It's not designing a set for be like, okay, this web page is for people that have normal eyes, and then this web page is for people that are colorblind or people that are deaf. That's not this accessibility when it comes to the context of design, right? And designing web pages, right? Now let's go into the definition of accessibility. What accessibility is, right? Now, accessibility, when you are designing accessibility, is designing products that helps the user, that's everyone, to use the product easily regardless of their inabilities, right? Now, projecting usable features that help on their abilities to what they can do rather than what they cannot do. Now, let me explain. Designing products for everyone. You're not designing for one person, you're not designing for a certain group of people, you're designing for everyone. And regardless of their inabilities, they should be able to navigate, move around, know that this is an image, know that this is a text, know that this is like a very complex design decision of either they are deleting or they are canceling, right? These are ways that you can easily build projects that are for everybody. And I'm going to, before we get into the 3 main points that would help you, like when you're doing design thinking to design better projects, right? You should also know that projecting usable features that help your abilities, reading out features in your design, in your web pages that improve the abilities of disabled people. So it doesn't project their inability to do something, but rather it projects that ability to do something. It projects that way to do something. Take an example, is a blind man, right? So a blind man that is trying to read a blog post on a website doesn't know that there's an image on the website. But by adding an alt text to that image, right? If he's using a text reader to read that website, right? When he gets to the point where the image is, it doesn't just say image, it will explain the image. It's an image of a shoe in a brown shoe rack. Or this is an image of a pink water bottle on a table. Now that I don't know how blind people imagine, it's still vague to me. I think about it a lot. Well, that's by the way, but that could help them imagine better on telling your story more. Now, so in that light, let's move forward into mind points, right? That will help you design better accessible products. Design one product for everyone, right? Think about the business benefits of designing that product, right? And then thirdly, you would be solving more than one problem when you design accessible products. You should have this in your head, and you should have this in your mind and in your thoughts when you start designing, right? And I'll mention one more, that's like a bonus point at the end of this video. Now, first one, design one product for everyone. As I said, don't design 2 different pages. For blind people, don't design this one. For deaf people, design one product. If you are designing a website, right? I'm an edtech designer, yeah. So if I'm going to use edtech examples, if you are designing an LMS system for kids, right? 5-year-old kids living in Europe, right? Or Scandinavia, right? Now, these kids, you have to design, because obviously there are kids that will be colorblind, there are kids that will not have good vision, right? Now, designing one product for all the children, not designing for separate children, designing for everybody, right? And these are things that you should take note of, right? Designing one product for everyone. Design the product in the sense that you have alt text, you have captions, you have good contracts that can easily help. If you are using machines to read, if you are using anything to read, it can all help. That's designing one product for everyone, not designing separate products for different people. That doesn't count for inclusion at all. So the next one is think about the business benefits. There are over 1.3 billion human beings on this planet with disabilities. And there's one thing about the laws of the internet, that if you are building something for the internet for everyone, then it should be accessible by everyone. And that's a whole huge market that people don't tap into. Imagine building products that over 1.3, no, that 10% of 1.3 billion people can access. Imagine you have a learning management system that 10% of that 1.3 billion people can access that edtech products and use it to learn, and use it to teach. That would greatly, that is traction, that is bringing a lot of revenue into your business, right? And that is one reason, that's one thing you should have in your head, that this thing makes sense to design accessible products, right? And it's cheaper to design accessible products from the beginning than trying to impute it later. I will explain that when I give the last bonus at the end of this video. Third point is you will be solving more than one problem when you design accessible products. When you design, imagine like this. Imagine you design, right, a website, right, with captions that allows users to put in captions, people that upload videos with captions and then add the captions to it right now. You imagine you're not in a noisy place and you can't hear the audio of the video when you're watching it. Take for example on YouTube, right? You can easily turn on the captions and then you can read and then listen to the very little audio that you can hear. You are solving your problem. You have your complete ears and eyes. You are solving your problem. At the same time, that also covers up for somebody that cannot properly hear or that cannot even hear at all. Now they can read the caption. You can also read the caption in your own use case. That is designing for everybody in mind, and that you are solving more than one problem. When you design with accessibility in mind, you will always solve more than one problem. Thank you very much for watching this video. That is all I have. I hope you have learned a thing or two about accessibility and how to design better accessible products. So before I do any other thing, right, I'm going to talk about the bonus point, and that is start designing for accessibility in the beginning of your design process. So the moment you start thinking of designing accessible products, you start thinking of designing that edtech solution, you start thinking of designing, okay, how well could students, learn how to culture a language? How well could students learn how to draw? And you're designing that product online, right? Start thinking of the accessible part of the product. Start thinking of, if somebody's colorblind, how do they start accessibility thinking from the beginning of your design thinking. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and tell me in the comments any examples of accessibility issues you have noticed before. You can follow me on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and always reach out to me if you have any issue. I'll always be ready to answer you. Thank you, and see you next week. So thank you very much. My name is David, and catch you all later.